The Age of Uncertainty podcast by Nigel Baker. Episode 1, Agile Coaching.
Sorry for that. Welcome to our first episode of The Age of Uncertainty. Yeah, sorry for the terrible virus joke, but this is why this podcast exists. You know, the idea behind this podcast is for me, Nigel Baker, to take a little journey twice a week through the world of uncertainty, agile, change, transformation, the world generally. Now, why does this podcast exist and why am I doing it? Well, the fact of the matter is, I'm trapped here. I'm in quarantine, or at least in isolation at the moment. You know, I have one of those underlying health conditions, which means it's probably not a good idea for me to be wandering the world out there. And this has left me bored. I mean, like, really bored. And I'm only a few days in. This could potentially be 12 weeks. So what am I doing? I thought I'd come up with this little podcast twice a week, 20 minutes each time, just exploring my ideas and concepts of the world of agile and uncertainty. The idea behind this is to give back to the community a little bit. A lot of us are trapped at home at the moment, and there's only going to be more of that going on over the next few weeks, and so I thought I'd just contribute a little bit back, and to be honest with you, give me a little bit of focus. Otherwise I'm just going to sit at home, eat digestive biscuits, and Netflix and chill. And to be honest, there's only so much Netflix you can chill to. Now, I'm going to be frank. I'm not going to totally focus these podcasts. You know, I'm not going to put a lot of effort into them, scripting them or anything like that, as you can tell with my talking now. What I want to keep them is a little bit more freeform. This may mean I may disagree with some things I say at the end. That's just the way it is. Things will come out my mouth and I'll just put it online and we'll see how people feel about it. So, now we've got the idea of this podcast in place, let's start looking at some topics we can discuss. I've been capturing a few of these on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I've also got a few ideas myself, and I'm going to try and sort of theme each one around a particular idea. This particular podcast, I thought let's start off with a bang, let's go for glory, and let's start off with 10 things an agile coach should or shouldn't do. So what would I do or not do as an agile coach? Off the top of my head. Well, the first thing I would do, I'd probably try not to confuse agile with agile. I.e., just make sure we understand there's things that need to be greatly flexible, i.e. small a, it's not one size fits all, it's not a copy and paste mentality, everyone has their own different situations that has different contexts, and not confuse that with where we need to be strict, rigid, agile with a big A. There are certain practices and tools and approaches that work really well. You're not a special snowflake or special flower. These may work for your company just like the other companies do. Don't corrupt those or manipulate those or destroy those because you're extra special. Secondly, as an agile coach, I probably understand the most important word in the phrase agile coach isn't agile, it's coach. You're there to help bring them out, to help them be the best company, the best team, the best people they can be. It's not all about you. So you need to be humble and show humility and work from low status and help them achieve results, not be the big heroic figure. Also along those lines, they shouldn't be telling people. I talk in some other videos I've got online in my Agilifying Agile Coaches group about never confusing your stances. Now, people use lots of different languages for stances. Myself, I use sort of collaborate, consult, coach and character. So consult is what I'm doing now. Telling, basically, do this, don't do that. That is a legitimate stance in your arsenal. The trouble is many people only have that stance. And the others are equally as important. Collaborate, work side by side with them, as colleagues, as teammates, as compatriots. Coach, be an actual coach. They have the answer inside them somewhere using coaching techniques to help them bring that out. Or character, that's the term I use for role model. Just show the right behaviours in the right way. A lot of agile coaches I have discovered do not exhibit or inhibit the practices and principles they actually talk about every day. And so we've got to be good people. We've got to be people of substance. We've got to show a bit of humility and a bit of humbleness, but also have a bit of character to us. That's the idea as a good agile coach. So I'll try and act in the right way, show and believe in the right principles, whilst understanding that tell is not always the best coaching stance to take. In fact, it's pretty bad in most scenarios. What other advice would I give? Well, I would say be neutral, or as be neutral as you can. Of course, you're not neutral on Agile, are you? You know, you are actually a proponent for this. But what I would say is you do not to be owning their particular results. You've got to be very careful by getting too corrupted internally. It's very easy for Agile coaches to be corrupted by the structure around them, and either from a positive or negative point of view have an agenda that is dangerous. We've got to try and keep our agenda on being helping them get better through agility, and not about any one particular person, organisation, structure, etc. I would also try and make sure I don't get too devoted to any one particular practice. It isn't one size fits all. I spoke a moment ago about how these good practices, there are a range of them that all have different birth, lives and deaths, and we need to make sure we understand that. Just because that practice worked for you in a previous company doesn't mean it'll work well for you in this company, or even a previous team compared to this team. What else is there to say? Well, I'd understand that there is a huge amount of politics actually in the Agile coaching role. As they say, two's company, three's politics. Well, there is politics involved. I would try and keep that out of the Agile space, but that very much is one of the key components of the change agent space. Again, I write more about this. I've spoken more about this actually on other YouTube videos on this channel, but understand that change agency is a slightly more Machiavellian area, an area of politics, an area of people, an area of people skills. And if you go into that space too naively, I think you can get chewed up pretty easily. What other things are there to talk about? Well, people often think it's either purity or pragmatism, and actually those are two sides of the same coin. A lot of Agile people are very pragmatic, based off empirical experience, and thus they are very fundamental about their fundamentals. Just understand which battles to fight. Do you really want to die on the hill of that particular approach? Because a lot of this stuff's very contextual anyway. There are certain things like principles and certain core practices I would be very devout on, yet there's a lot of stuff I'll say, do you know what, that's right for you, it may not be right for me, or vice versa. Here's another tip. My t-shirt. I'm not lazy, I'm just maximising the amount of work not done. Why is that a tip? Well, I'll tell you now, it's because as an Agile coach, you shouldn't be doing all the legwork either. It's their change, it's their transformation, not yours. I see a lot of coaches running around as these hero figures, not only high status but high effort, long hours, working with teams. Now, one, that doesn't show the right behaviour, does it? The Agile is about sustainable pace, about repeatability, about a sensible work-life balance. But more fundamentally than that, if you become the key agents in the change, when you go, and I'm telling you now, you will go, who leads the change now? Where does it go? What happens to it? This is a classic problem. They go, hey, we need Agile, let's get an Agile coach. And what they probably think is someone to do Agile to them. And that's not how this works. It needs to be their change. It needs to be their transformation, if that's the term you want to use. It needs to be their thing. And to do that, you need to maximise the amount of work you don't do. How much can you get them doing, leading their way, owning their work? So building on top of that, you're going to have to build your own networks as well, your own communities in that organisation. It can't be us and them, it's got to be we, actually. And to do that, you're going to have to get pairs and buddies and communities of practice, and just build up the Scrum Master world. The Scrum Master is an Agile coach. They're an institutionalized long-term Agile coach. They are the bread and butter of change. They're the bread and butter of Agile. We need to build up and support that community. Too many of us call ourselves Agile coaches, we act like Agile coaches, when really we would offer more value if we were Scrum Masters, doing real change on the ground with teams. So you need to help foster that community, foster a love for that community, and foster treating that community with the respect it deserves. So these are all things I would do to build a sort of a network around the organisations. Also go outside the organisations. Agile coaches need coaches. Find outside mentors or just outside buddies. People in other groups, other clubs. I know all the gatherings are currently being cancelled at the moment because of the virus going around the world, but we could do that virtually as well. Get together in gangs and help each other. help each other. That would be another great tip for me. Here's something else I would do. You know, I spoke about living our principles and living our values. Well, I would live our practices as well. I am still a huge proponent of using things like Scrum as the actual method for change. I love to build visions, understand why we're doing it, and help them understand why they would want to be agile beyond everyone else is doing it, and then build a backlog of all the changes we need to make and prioritise it. You know, there's some quick wins we can do now that can build goodwill for this change and goodwill for us, and there's some long-term difficult things that maybe we don't have all the answers for today, but that's okay. We can build up to those as we gradually work down that backlog. I tend to time box, though I tend to use months as an agile coach. I think that's a reasonable planning horizon. And every month or so, just feedback on our change, feedback on the work. Let's see what we've done. Let's see how we've done it, discuss how we've done it, and inspect and adapt. That's what I try and do. Sort of eat our own dog food, drink our own champagne with the practices. Visual boards are great for this. As an agile coach, I like to have my own personal board. If I'm working on a team of coaches, I think we should have a team board so we can all work together and understand how we can interwork with each other to help give the best results possible. Now, for me, here is a huge don't. Stay away from people's personal lives. You are an agile coach, not a personal coach. And I'm seeing a lot of coaches out there go and get official coaching training, professional qualifications, and now think they are skilled and fully talented to help work on your issues. Hey, why do you smoke? Why are you a bit fat? Don't do that. You are nowhere near skilled enough to do that. Even the highest trained agile coaches I meet, I would still put at quite a medium level or low level compared to professional therapists and professional coaches. Keep it business related, keep it work focused. The minute you start tipping your toe into that personal life, I think you're in very deep water there with lots of sharks and issues that you may be able to pick at that scab, but you may not be able to help them find the answers for this. And that's why, generally, for me, you must always get permission for coaching. Now, I am very explicit with that. I will actually say, do I have permission to coach you? Why? Because I have had some horrible experiences, actually just with friends of mine, but we've been having a nice chat, talking about life, you know, this and that and the other, having a moan and a groan as you always do, and I can see them go clunk and turn into coach mode. So why do you think that, Nigel? What were you hoping to achieve? And oh my God, it blows my mind. If I wanted coaching, I would ask for coaching. I think unwanted coaching is assault. That's so truthful. Unwanted coaching is assault. And so we've got to do it with love and we've got to do it with permission. And if you don't have permission, don't coach. It can be a very nasty space if you do. Here's another thing I'd like to show you. Another way we could help people embrace change is by treating these changes like experiments or experimentation or even trials. The idea being they're all quite light, they're all quite reversible, and they're all evidence driven. That way people can feel more comfortable to try these ideas out and feel safe to try and feel safe to explore these new ideas and embrace new concepts. That way, it's getting away from those big, scary changes, large-scale, big lumps. You gamble everything on red and the roulette wheel comes in on black, which can terrify some people. Here's a really dirty, practical one that I'm not sure you're going to be able to do. But hey, you wanted some advice? So here it is. Try and stay out of the traditional line management or command structure. You know, if you're stuck in there and you're in some sort of hierarchical model, the people below you, they won't accept coaching from you. You're their boss. They will do as they're told. And you could end up with malignant compliance. And the people above you, OMG, coaching up is really, really hard. And if they don't like something you say or something you do, it's very easy for them to just adjust that power structure, send the signal down, and you are squished like a tomato. How do we make this work? We need to sit outside the traditional line management and command structure, be independent of that, and so that budgeting and that financing can't be used against us to get the right behaviours out of the coach or get them to toe the line. We need to be able to offer that independent advice without fear of our job or our position or our career. I know. That's so easy to say in a video and so hard to do in real life, but you wanted some tips. There's a massive killer one. Whew. Well, I think that means this podcast is up. Time has expired. It's time to go home. So thank you for joining me. I hope it's been fun. I hope it's been useful. And I hope to see you on the next issue later on this week. Thank you and see you soon. Take care.
Next episode on the Age of Uncertainty. Uncertainty itself.